what should we do? Also one thing that I was thinking about is he should probably shove more often than in theory, because if he, with value, because if he goes overbet with something like a flush, I think I'm supposed to value raise thin, like populations should value raise thinner than they do. So it's always like a general thing that people are not value raising, value betting thin enough. So then often you want to go just for value yourself. So if you have a hand there in his shoes that wants to go for all the stack, you probably need to go just yourself all in. Or check shove, that would be also an option, but I think the overbet would be the worst option with a hand that wants the full stack, just as a note. If he checks here now, yeah, like I will show, like I will just show it what I did, and then we can talk about it. Hello guys, in this video I'm going to review a footage of me playing NL100 rushing cash on GG. So we are going over it in 1.5 speed, so we can cover a lot of spots, and let's jump into it directly. Standard open 10s, jacks. UTG normally I open 2x. I just quickly saw like this cyan blue tag, and this is normally a recreational, a loser, or like a spewy recreational, so therefore I decided to open a bit bigger just to play a bigger post flop with him in the big blind. Normally 2x fine, but can be a old tag. His VPIP looks quite fine, or like quite nitty. On the flop, given the tag, I went for bigger sizing, I think, yes, which is I like, versus a recreational. Versus a spewy one, I even like going for a small. If I have aces, for example, I will go for the 1/3 and let him give him the opportunity to check raise me pretty aggro. Or even with jacks, if I really know this guy's out of line, then I like more the 1/3 to induce something. Other than that, if he's like a standard passive recreational, then I like the big bet. In GTO, like against like standard reg, so like professional player, I would go for, I think, like 1/3 full range or half pot full range is fine here on that board, or half pot split when the when villain is very aggro with check racing. You can do a lot of things on the board. Okay, just fold it. Here we have the next one. This guy's a big recreational, a whale with 50 VPIP, opening 2x. Queen 10 off, I would fold versus 2.5 or 3x, like 2.5 and bigger, versus a reg, like professional, but against a recreational, I just call. Besides, if he goes like 3x, three big blind, I would even consider folding with the reg. But yeah, against recreation, I want to be quite loose. 2x easy call. On that board, we could develop some leads against again, like against reg, not recreational. But I would recommend to not overcomplicate your strategy, especially at the beginning. If you see the solver, or like a lot of people study now with wizard, if you see wizard donk, you will see wizard donking here, maybe even like up to 30%, like a significant amount. Just simplify to a range check for now, and come back to this this donking like much later on, when you're very confident in your play in all other bigger spots that are more important, let's say. Don't try to implement already such a complicated lines into your game at the beginning. That's a tip. If you're more experienced, then that's something you can work on, yes. And for sure, don't just implement it only because you saw it quickly in Wizard. You really need to study what you're doing. You need to have a plan. You need to know what you're doing. Okay, vote. This guy limps, normally assigned for a recreational, but a lot of recs start also to limp now, just because the recreational are then isolating quite often, and also like the recs are isolating a bit too wide, so it's nice to limp re-raise. So we cannot say that he's like a fish directly or recreational, only by him limping. Here king 4 suited, interesting board, blind versus blind. I would imagine the solver would split his range here. If it's something like queen 9 3 rainbow, then I would be much more happy to range bet the board, because the flush draw gives villain, like the big blind, like more EV in his range. You will have a lot of flush draws here, and also that he's connected with the 10-8, 7-8. He has a lot of gut shots, straight draws on this board, so it's too connected for me to be able to just range bet. Queen 9-6 is better than Jack 9-6 because we have more Queen X advantage, like Ace Queen, King Queen. Type hands are like often in his shoes. They just 3-bet pre-flop, so the Queen is better than the Jack. But still, this board I don't think is nice to range bet. I would start splitting here with a half pot split or 1/3 mix strategy. And king 4 with the clubs wants to just bet, I would imagine, because we cannot really check call, we cannot really check raise, and this hand is too strong to just check fold, so I think it should bet always. And king 4 in hearts, king 4 in diamonds, I think they would mix a bet or a check, low frequency bet, I would imagine. And I get raised. Just nothing I can do. I need to fold. And here I think we we called with the like bigger recreational with the whale here. I really like this call. I would not like it to fold here. I want to get involved here. Call is fine, or isolation also fine. The recs are normally not attacking the isolations enough, so you can isolate a bit wider. Yeah, but also call fine. If he goes 2x, I like the call also. Totally fine. And when he checks, I just step. I think both hands fine. King 10, king 10. 2x open, fine, because I don't have any reason here to size up. I like it. Then we have a decision here. Do we 4-bet it? Do we call? Or do we just fold? I don't like, to be honest, 4-betting. I don't like it so much because this guy has a pretty strong range. He's not a recreational, it seems like, just probably a weaker rec who is having a calling range with 10s, jacks, like this very obvious cold call 3-bet range, which is pretty strong. So I don't see much folds when I 4-bet here. And also like the cutoff, not sure about him. He could be a recreational based on his name, to be honest. Like my intuition says that the name is a bit fishy, but could be just a rec. And the VPIP is a bit high, so just a bit of information that he could be a recreational. But yeah, with this information, I would like just to call. I think call is fine. Fold is a bit tight. but we need to be careful. If we call, we need to be very disciplined when we get a king on the like if we hit a pair that we don't start calling off. We don't want to stack off like a pair here post flop. So for example, this board, we need to be very, like, we cannot just call it down. If he starts to triple barrel, that would be a huge punt. So if we are able to fold that hand versus a lot of aggression, then I think it's fine. And here, just 3-bet the ace queen, fine. See what happens. C-bet, and we call. I don't think we have any other option than call. I think raising would be pretty terrible option. And turn goes pretty quickly, check, check. We need to be careful with the timing tails because we have it on 1.5, but I think it was pretty quickly, and I think we have a big 10x advantage here, quite big 10x advantage on the river. Probably in reality a bit less than in GTO. GTO would probably barrel 10s quite often here on the turn as a bluff in his shoes, or something like Jack 10 would keep barreling, Queen 10, and in general the population is a bit too passive, I think, with this region, and then they have a bit more 10x than they should have. We have the absolute nut advantage for sure. Like we have all the ace 10 and he doesn't have them anymore by checking back the turn. So for example, if it would be 200-300 big blinds deep, like very, very deep, we could leverage this fact. Like deeper we get, more we can leverage this this fact. So we could have like some huge shoves now. This I could imagine. Also now 85 big blinds behind. I think we still have shoves. Of pretty sure we should develop some shoves here. Then I'm just thinking about my range and his range and which kind of strategy makes sense. I don't think we can just have one sizing. I'm pretty sure we should have like a small sizing, a very small sizing. So we have the option to go 10% with something like jacks or something like king, like 2 pairs. I think that makes sense. So we have this region of like 2 pairs and sets that wants to go like 10%. Then we have like the straight, the 10x, and then we have the absolute nuts like ace 10. And yeah, effectively the 10 is the absolute nuts because it doesn't have ace 10. But yeah. So I imagine we have like a 10%, then something like a 30 to 40% bet, and then a shove, I would imagine. But yeah, so I could look up then. And one more fact, which would be interesting, is that ace 10, I don't think ace 10 makes, if we want to bet ace 10, if we bet ace 10, I don't think we ever betted 1/3 or this 40%. I think we never betted medium. I think either we shove all in or we go for the very small bet. If we imagine that, because with us going 40%, I think the likelihood of getting all the stack in is the lowest from all options. And we really want to get all the money in. So that would be also a thought that I want to check then. So I like my bet here. I think that I choose. I'm not going 10%. I'm not going like quite 1/3. I choose a bit more exploitive sizing, a bit smaller, just to get more calls by the 2-pair region, ace king type hands. Or aces. Okay, so I 3-betting the king jack off, which is totally fine with the recreational. If I have a suited connector or a low pocket pair, I would just call, especially because he makes a 2x. I want to have good blockers to his shoving range because we are short. This we need to consider. If he has 200 big blinds or something, then it doesn't matter too much. Yeah, so I like it. The 3-bet, and here we have a pretty bad board. So like this we should range check, pretty much range check. I'm pretty sure if you look in the solver that this will be a range check. And because villain has like 4x advantage, he connects very well with his like 7-5, 5-3, a lot of flush draws that he has. So it's a very bad board for us, very good for him. So I like the check. Here we have a decision versus the recreational. We have a few options. We could go directly big, which I don't like so much. I think we keep. I want to increase the likelihood of him making a mistake, and I think betting big is just not the best option because we are short, so we don't have the pressure to get the money in. So I like either betting small or checking. I like because we are so short. I think even checking I like more because I just want to get this extra value from like Queen 9 clubs, for example. I don't know, some like random hands that can start to spew off, which you can see quite often in recreationals. So I like the check here. I check, I think, yes. So I like this one, and here he checks back. So it's interesting. The turn again. I think here about my like the range versus range interaction here. After he checks back, first of all, I think about the GTO fundament. So I would imagine that GTO will develop here some overbets. I think it's good enough to overbet, but also we want to have some blocks, I guess. I think we can, we have a value range of like, or yeah, we want to value bet something like ace king, ace queen, I think. Thin value bet, ace king, ace queen with a 1/3. Then probably some like very nutted hands like probably something like sixes could go for a 1/3 or check. And then something like 8s, 9s, 10s wants to probably overbet, start overbetting, but could be wrong that we just want to bet 3/4 in GTO. But exploitively, I'm very pretty sure that we go for overbets because villain will not check back enough 4x and not check back enough 3-5 and deuces. I think he steps too wide here too often with this region. That may leads me to overbet thinner for value, so I can overbet all my overpairs, and I can overbet then also more bluffs. So I can get very aggro with my my bluffs. So on the first side, I like the overbet with my plus, but if you think about his folding range, so and again, I think about how do I make a mistake more likely by villain. So I want to always set up mistakes. So by overbetting, I don't think we, mm, yeah, he will overfold probably pretty easily. He would need to defend some king highs for sure. But we can look this up, and yeah, king highs I think need to defend, and so ace x of course also decent frequency. So versus overbet, he will overfold pretty sure, and he will not find enough races, and I think he shouldn't have to match races in the first place. So but when we check, so the thing is we block the ace, so we block his folding range, or the things that I think he will overfold. And when we check, he has plenty of like jack highs, queen highs that he can start now to bluff. So and we can easily check call our hand. We have very nice unblockers to this region, so something like we unblock very nicely like queen 7, queen 8, jack 8, jack 9 offsuit, all these crappy hands. So I really like check calling more than betting. Not the worst to overbet, but I like it more to check. I think we induce more mistakes like this. And here with the king jack, I think on the turn after he checks back, I think you just I don't think he starts, if he wants to start bluffing, I think he directly starts bluffing the flop quite often. If he checks back, I just want to yeah, set up the river that we get it in against this like weaker king X, his pockets with a heart, or something like ace jack with a heart, ace and heart, something like this. So I really want to bet myself then. So fine. So the just here I would like to check. Okay, I will remember this to think a bit more about this option. 2x here again, no recreational, fine. 3 bet the king 10, fine. Yeah, here it's interesting. If he checks to me, I think I develop some leads here, or and I think if I would run the spot, I don't, not sure, but I think it should be like this, that we can develop some leads here because we have such a 5x advantage. The UTG should check back a lot, so he should not bet, yeah, almost nothing, I guess, because of my 5x advantage. Also, like, there's a flush draw, which is quite nice for me in the big blind. I have a lot of flush draws. Small blind is not so dangerous here. He will not have so many 5x. I'm the one who has this big advantage, so I really like leading out, and my hand makes sense, I guess. I think because we blocked the flush draw and the backdoor flush draw, and we have some nice turns to barrel, so I would really like the lead. Some extra EV instead of like blindly checking. I think when I play my A game, I think I can find here some extra EV to push or to get out of the end. And now that I had already directly this thought, I remember in game, that I want to lead. Then he started to lead, and I got a bit yeah, I debated if I should anyway go with the aggressive line because we have the 5x. If I would not have this tag that he's spewy, I would probably go for it and attack this the small bet with my advantage. So I would really like the raise here if I would not have the spewy tag, that he did something spewy before. So you see that I already wanted to go for it, but I like the disciplined fold and that I didn't go then, that I didn't force the play, if it's not really clear there. 3x open, call, standard. Interesting here. So it's a big one in poker, is that we play a game of hidden information. So any kind of information that we get is very, very valuable. And here, if you think about it, like, he could bet just 1/3 on the flop, and he decides to bet 50%. So this is something we need to be aware of. We need to really pay attention to this kind of things. It plays a role in his range construction. We can we can take out some hands. We can include some take out some hands from his range sometimes. It depends also which line he chooses, which future sizings. So we need to consider this. And turn, again, weird sizing, because mostly if we think about GTO or like theory, I think this is more of a overbet strategy, and most regs, I think, realize already that on such a tricky turn that they can start developing overbets, and something like Queens Plus really likes you to overbet. I don't really improve to 2 pairs, or I don't improve very often to something that that hurts is like Queens Plus region. So this hands can still go very easily for overbet. So, but he decides to go for this like weird like 80%, 85, something like this, which is interesting. Normally, I've my intuition said like kinda that it looks pretty value heavy, not super strong. It could be something like jacks, but why should he bet jacks? He could just check it on the turn. So it looked like kind of very value heavy, but a strong hand, but not super strong. I wouldn't imagine that he goes with overbets, with queens plus with the sizing. But on the other side, I also don't know if he's capable of over betting. It could be just a weak rack that is not using the overbet in his in game plan, and so I cannot make too big of assumption. But in general, it's this type of hands, like good hands, but not super good. And then it's if he has some overbets in his game plan, I need to be very careful because he is very likely then to underbluff the turn, and especially also the river, because if so many draws brick, so on the turn there are a shit ton of draws, so he would be more likely to bet bigger to really get fold equity. And river also, like this looked very very like a milky bet versus like, yeah, it really felt like a good top pair, something like ace jack, king jack in game. But my problem here is a bit that he could have the same hand. So I don't know him, so if I have a note that he's a big nit, then I probably find a fold, but I think it was too extreme to fold this one. So I like the call. He could have queen jack himself. He could have some random bluffs anyway, like still there. But most likely we run here into ace king, ace jack very often. But yeah, like anyway, we need to kind of call, I think. So in game, I had already a feeling, but would be too extreme. So it's also a tip, like to not make too extreme exploits or like adjustments. Just watch out what's coming up in your head, which kind of thoughts. They can mislead you also very easily into too extreme actions, making too crazy, too strong assumptions, and basing your decisions fully on this like very strong assumptions can lead into like making too crazy hero folds, hero calls, all this kind of things, which are normally not that great. It's a different thing if the intuition kicks in, if something feels not right, or if like normally you cannot really tell, like when it's intuition, you cannot really say what exactly is making you to fold, or like, yeah, you just have this feeling. But if it's like a thought that is trying to mislead you, you need to be careful. Here 6-5 in 6-5 suited. I think in GTO it should be like a mix of like mostly call. In this, I think 50 NL ranges in Wizard, it's folding even, start to fold. There I think we don't have this like as a fold 4-bet at all. And then maybe like mixing call and fold. But I really like the 4-bet also here as an option. If the villain is not a huge nit. No, against big blind I don't like it. Big blind is under 3-betting very hard. That's no secret. It's very hard to find the 3-bets in the big blind, but small blind is very easy to find the 3-bets, and I think most players are pretty aggro there. Like they come close to GTO frequency, so therefore we can play wider. Like we don't need to be reacting so nitty. And also what I like is that they have a relatively wide range, and we are in position. So I think just that people play pretty poorly still, of course, out of position, which is normal. And, or how to say, like we both are very unlikely to realize our equity like GTO, but I think the out of position has a much harder time to come close to GTO frequencies or like equity realization than in position. So therefore we should have a wider reaction, defending reaction than in GTO ranges. So that's like kind of my thinking. And 4-bet I like because he should develop some 5-bet shoves with ace-5. I guess some bluffs like ace-queen off needs to shove probably sometimes. If he plays very passive and overfolds some king 10, jack 10 type hands, then I think 4-betting is quite nice. We don't have the best blockers, but it doesn't matter too much here, I think. And post flop it plays very well, this hand. We are not dominated, so if we choose something like king jack off as a 4-bet, if we flop a jack high board, we can, king jack is still fine, but queen jack off, for example, we can be dominated by king jack suited, ace jack suited, this type of thing. But 6-5 is pretty clean. Ace queen off, 3-bet, fine. Just fold to the 4-bet. King 10 suited. I think I decided to call. I think if we don't have a clear reason to 3-bet always, I think it's mixing. So like GTO, GTO should be a mix, and yeah, I think both fine. 3-bet or call. The send is fine. I don't have now clear thoughts about or like reasons to always 3-bet or always call. It's like in both lines I think we can perform quite well here. The only thing, if we would overfold to a 3-bet very hard and not 4-bet enough, then I would 3-bet it always. But the thing is, I guess that they overcall the 3-bet. I should start folding a lot of pockets, suited connectors. If they call them all the time, it's pretty ugly to play always this 3-bet spot out of position. King 10 suited is still quite nice to play post flop. So yeah, both fine, call or 3-bet, I think. This is a very interesting hand. The king queen off. I think this will be also the last hand for this video. Because I wanted to look up this one in GTO Wizard. So we 3-bet king queen off versus the UTG, which is fine. Will be probably a mix in Wizard, but I like it. I like to 3-bet a bit more often with good blockers. I want to block the ace queen off, the ace king. Yeah, like just the region that could 4-bet bluff me or like call the 3-bet or like, yeah. Just his value range and his 4-bet plus we block quite well with the ace queen off that he has often. So I like 3-betting this one a bit more often because we if we come post flop, I think yeah, it's very hard to play for him out of position, and we have an easy life I think in position very often. So I think there he will have a very hard time to realize his equity. That makes me to try to play more of this type of hands. And because of our good blockers, we will come post flop way more often, and we will have much less 4-bets than if we would have something like 6-5 suited, which I would not like to 3-bet so often. So I would go with less suited connectors, less like pocket pairs, low pocket pairs, and then more of this like blocker type hands. And interesting board. So in game I had the thought of yeah, what is like a good strategy here. I was thinking about a thought came also that something like ace 8-3 or like this ace xx monotone would be worse than this one. This jumped into my head just because we have now we have all the ace x flushes still, like ace queen, ace jack flush, which is very nice. Or we have ace king, ace queen offsuit with the ace of clubs still. So a lot of hands with yeah, like a lot of equity, of course. As soon the ace of clubs is there out there, I think we are losing quite a bit of EV. He will still have like the maybe not that big of a flush advantage, but just not having the ace high flushes in my range and not having the ace x club offsuited combos, I think hurts me quite a bit. And because I have this king queen off, this like queen 10 in spades, this type of hands more often than him, so I have more crap in my range. He will be very pocket pair heavy, and yeah, like he will have ace king, ace offsuit with a club here, yeah, ace queen offsuit, ace queen suited, this type of hands. So that would be a thought that I had. So 8-7-3 monotone, I think it's fine to bet small and split the range. So I would imagine here around 50% c-bet strategy, and then ace x I would imagine a bit smaller, the frequency, but this I want to check. And yeah, I think in versus population it's fine to just simplify to most boards. I just simplify 1/3 full range, which is fine. I think they don't check raise enough, they overfold to turn barrels, a lot of things that want to or lead me to over c-bet. So I like the full range c-bet here. Turn comes the 4 in spades. Yeah, now it's getting interesting which kind of hands I want to keep barreling for value and for bluffs then. So I have obviously my like over pairs that I want to keep barreling quite aggressively here. So therefore I need some bluffs. Now I need to think which kind of bluffs make sense. In game I thought this hand checks back very often, but yeah, if you think about it, this hand makes sense to bet because we unblock. If you think what he needs to fold versus the turn barrel, it's like 9s, 10s, jacks without a club. This is the main region that we attack. Everything else can keep calling. Like if he doesn't have really kings and queens, or queens like lower frequency than jacks and 10s. So I think king queen off does a pretty good job in unblocking the folding range and blocking the hands like ace king offsuit with the ace of clubs, something like this. But in general, it's unblocking quite well the folding range. And our if we barrel and we hit a king or a queen, it's yeah, good enough, I think, to value bet again against his 9s, 10s, jacks with a club. So I would like betting, I think, more than checking here. But mixing is fine, I think. Mixing is fine. I don't have a clear reason to always bet. I don't think he's overfolding here too much, to be honest, on the turn. And river also very interesting. He decides to check to me. I think he can develop here. Well, what should be his strategy? I think he should develop some shoves. For sure, he should have some shoves with flushes. Pretty sure. Or maybe some not. Maybe he should have just a overbet. Probably mostly overbet and then some shoves, like low frequency shoves. And so yeah, of course, some blocks. I think he can block here. Even 1/3 or 10%, I think, totally fine in his shoes. I think if he has 9s, 10s, he could block 10%. But yeah, mostly, I think, bigger sizings in his shoes. More polarized, I think he should go. And what should we do? Also, one thing that I was thinking about is he should probably shove more often than in theory, because if he, with value, because if he goes overbet with something like a flush, I think I'm supposed to value raise thin, like populations should value raise thinner than they do. So it's always like a general thing that people are not value raising, value betting thin enough. So then often you want to go just for value yourself. So if you have a hand there in his shoes that wants to go for all the stack, you probably need to go just yourself all in. Or check shove, that would be also an option, but I think the overbet would be the worst option with a hand that wants the full stack, just as a note. If he checks here now, yeah, like I will show, like I will just show it what I did, and then we can talk about it. So I decided to check back, which is a pretty unintuitive thing, I guess, for most. Like just if you see here king high and you think about your range a bit, it seems like a pretty easy bet, but somehow like my intuition kicked in and said, like I wanted first to bet, and then I was like thinking about the range, and it felt really ugly to bet, really ugly. Yeah, also I was thinking what I tried to get to fold, and the hands that came into my head are, like, first of all, not folding, I think, and second of all, they would rather check raise than check fold, I think. I don't think it's true that people are too passive in all spots. So I think it's happening, they're just unbalanced. So it's happening that they're either over bluffing or under bluffing. And this is, I think, a clear spot for me. Like my intuition said that this is just spot where he will check raise too often and he will check call too often. So, and my king queen didn't felt like a 100% bet. I don't think, especially when we see bet range on the flop, that we get to always bet the river, and it didn't feel like that his range is super weak. So I kind of liked the check back then, but we will look it up directly. So he had tens, so I don't think he would ever fold, and I think he would even check raise sometimes this hand. If he has something like 8, 9, probably he needs to fold pretty often. Nines, tens probably needs to mix. Something like check X, he doesn't really have too much. Like check 10, I think is supposed to mix versus a big bet. Yeah, like something like 6s, 5s with a club. I just see like check raising very often or check calling. I don't think that he is folding them enough. So let's look it up. I will pull up the spot. So we have the spot here. I created a AI solution with the NL500 ranges. I think they come closer to reality than the 100 NL ranges. 2.5x open. It's important that we go very general here in the spot. So like to try to find out general heuristics. I don't want to go too in depth into, I'm not so interested in the monotone board by itself, let's say. I don't want to study how to play monotone boards. It's more about how like the range, like how the ranges were constructed by the river, if it makes sense then to give up king high air, for example. I just want to check if my intuition was correct more than like really going very in depth into the monotone board, because yeah, monotone boards you should skip as much as possible when looking at your plays. But for me, it's more important for the general heuristics, let's say, that we can get out of the hand. I have the feeling we can get some nice things here. So UTG checks and we bet around 50%. This is kind of what I estimated, so this is not surprising to me, so all good. When we bet, I think villain will overfold his yeah, like some overcard type hands. He will probably check raise not enough bluffs, I would imagine. Maybe check raising a bit too often, the over pairs, stuff like this. So in general, I think yeah, something like sixes, fives would be very, very close without the club. This type of hands will overfold probably. So I think very nice to just range bet. And we bring then villain into a tougher spot. Let's see, sixes, fives are like very, very close hands. I don't think someone is check raising here, or very hard hands to find. Ace queen, king queen starts to fold. Yeah, so like general thing here is for the thought process is a good question to ask yourself. What kind of like what part of his range am I attacking, and which sizing is doing a good job for it? So here, for example, if you go 1/3, you don't make the ace queen, king queen anymore indifferent, and this hurts our EV. So like we want to go even like 20% makes a lot of sense. I think not too small, but like 20% I think is a very nice sizing, because he needs to like defend even more of this type of hands that is overfolding. So I like to go small and then range bet. Let's just put in the range bet that we don't mess up the ranges. We don't want to work with this let's say, like in reality I range bet, so I want to look into range bet, not into mix range. So we see now he's check raising much more when we range bet, which makes sense. And still the king queen, ace queen should defend quite often. Sixes, fives is now always a defense. So by range betting, we even induce more of a mistake by him by overfolding the hands. So that's interesting. So it's not you cannot just look at the reaction of villain and say, okay, I could range bet. It's also that when you range bet, he should even be much looser with this type of hands that are already unintuitive to defend. So this is a good takeaway, I think, a general one. So call. Turn comes the 4 in spades, and my estimation would be that we, some things like important thought is when I barrel the turn, I want to really unblock his folds. So I think most of his folds come from jacks, 10s, and 9s on the turn. And it's like mostly jacks, 10s, and 9s. So therefore I expect king queen offsuit to be a better barrel than something like queen jack. So this would be a thought that I have, and I want to check this one if this makes sense. Okay, we see that the solver is using a smaller bet than I thought. That's interesting. That's the cool thing with the AI is, oh no, sorry, I missed, I was in the UDG. Okay, doesn't matter. So it's a big sizing, and we go queen check, more check than king queen. Makes sense. And king queen off bets very often. So I would like more the bet than check, but yeah, it seems like fine also to check. Okay. If we consider him, let's say, check raising too often with 8s and 7s, like always check raising, then maybe barreling always the turn and being more aggro is fine. But yeah, like it's fine. It's not so often check calling the 8s and 7s here, and I think population is also like sometimes calling them. So just mixing fine. We decide to check, and the river. But let's see also the reaction from UTG when we bet. I would expect to jacks, 10s to be indifferent then without a club, and 9s. That's mostly what we want to get to fold. Jacks, 10s indifferent, 9s, 10s is more a clear fold, 9s a clear fold, and jacks gets indifferent. Okay, makes sense. Jack 10 needs to check raise, very weird. No one will get this. So if we consider this, probably fine to barrel a bit more often, but on the other side, he doesn't have ace queen, he doesn't have king queen, so probably it's yeah, he has jack 10, yes. Ooh. Yeah, like hard to say. Like I think just keeping the mix is fine. Not a because yeah, if we look at his reaction, he needs to. It's very hard to say how he will react in reality. It's ace queen and king queen he will not have probably, so that would speak for checking much more often. But then also we see jack 10 check raising, that would speak for betting more often. Jacks 10s, I don't know what exactly he's doing. If he's calling always 10s and jacks, probably that speaks again more for checking. So just mixing, fine. Mix, and we check. River comes the jack and diamonds. And here my thought was, I was interested in UTG strategy, like which sizings he should use, and yeah, how he gets all the money. For example, if I would be UTG, I would be interested in how to get all the money. And this is again a general thing. So which questions do I need to ask myself to come to the right sizings? And one big question is, I think, if I have here another 10, is how do I get all the money in most frequent? And then I have few options. I can bet all in, or I bet 3/4 and I get I hope that villain raises, or I bet block and hope villain raises, but then probably win. Yeah, we can block and hope that villain raises, and we can check shove. So I think from all options, if I think about it, check shove makes the most sense, because I want to put my hands into a line like value hands where I have also perceived a lot of bluffs. So it would make a lot of sense for us to check something like 6s, 5s with a club, 7-6, 10s, 9s, and then when villain bets, to check raise them as a bluff. So I think perceived we have plenty of bluffs to choose from. So I like to have then also my value in this line. If I shove all in the river, I think it looks a bit stronger than check raise. So I don't like it so much. So that would be my thinking. So we see 2/3 and all in, and we see king queen, for example, betting 2/3 with the king queen flush, for example, is never checking, and I think exploitively I like the check more. That's interesting. EV wise, it's not so much difference, but I think if we go all in, yeah, probably villain will call too often with aces and kings, but just slightly. Maybe some more hero, like too often hero calls with 10s, but overall I don't think he's so likely to make big mistakes. 2/3 I don't like at all. I don't think they have ace king, ace queen with ace of clubs, so we miss out on, like, we don't really get here the all in. So here it's less likely to get all in the money. Queen jack, king, ace jack I don't think is bluffing. So this is a general concept again, is about just we need to think about how we are perceived and how is villain thinking that we perceive him. So for example, here we have the case that our range is uncapped and villain's range is capped. So he's let's say if we are now in UTG shoes, and villain is in cutoff, villain should know, if he's not a recreational, that his range is capped and our range is uncapped. So in this scenario, it's very unlikely that villain goes for crazy bluffs with a capped range versus an uncapped range. So this scenario is where it's like general. It will come up in all different spots, and it's very important that we keep this, that we consider this when we choose our sizings. So I like the check raise, I think, the most. Also, like 4-5 needs to go all in. Like, it's never happening. I don't think so. Not never. You should not say like never say never, but very unlikely. Cutoff. Let's say check, UTG check, and villain should check back aces, kings, which I don't think happens. So I think it's easy to go too thin for value on the river and bluff too often. King queen is a bluff in theory. It's a plus EV bluff. Okay, it's a plus EV bluff. Queen jack needs to value bet. Okay, probably because we just blocked the jacks, the trips, the set. Ace jack, king jack needs to value bet. Okay, interesting. And the thing is, why I don't like to bet king queen off. So what needs to happen? So it's already close. Okay, in theory it would be a bet, but let's say what he needs to fold. So my estimation, what I had in game, is that tens, like nines, need to start folding, tens need to start folding, sixes, fives with a club needs to start folding, and like not check raise so often. So something like ace king with an ace of clubs needs to mix fold and raise. And as soon he goes too often into raise or call in the, with this hand, it becomes very fast a minus EV bet. So that was kind of my thinking. Let's see if this makes sense. So this would be, again, a general thing. Just if it's about this perceived range. So if villain knows that we are capped and he's uncapped, he's more likely to find this kind of bluffs. It's about being either unbalanced towards the over bluff or under bluff. It's always happening, but we need to figure out which factors lead him to be over folding, lead him to over bluff, over bluff or under bluff. And I think this scenario, just how the spot played, and yeah, how after the actions that we choose, that he's very likely to turn this hands too often into a bluff. So he should mix. I don't think someone goes ahead here and mixes. I think just a very natural thought would be here. I have good blockers. He's capped, I'm uncapped, and it's very easy then to over bluff this hands, I think. So that would be my estimation. If this is true, I think the king queen should stop to bluff, so this we can really fast check. So let's say instead of folding, he's check calling or check raising, 50-50, let's say. The tens with the club, tens without, I don't think he's folding, to be honest, so often. So let's give him just a bit more call. Oh, that's too much. We don't want to over note lock, for sure. This is important. And the nines, let's say, is also 50-50 and not folding with the clubs. This other thing we leave like this. And the sixes, just this region, because they're so tight, the ranges already. If he's reacting like this, even this one, I think I would give like this. Okay, just a small note lock. Let's see how this reaction is causing us to react as imposition. Okay, that's an interesting thing. Okay, so cutoff. Now now our bet gets like -2 big blind. So if the estimation is correct, and like somehow I need to make some estimations in game. If I don't make estimations, I try to play only GTO, and I don't think this is correct. Especially on rivers, it will be very different to GTO. And if this is true, so like if this is true that they are too aggro here with this part, Even just the 9th, 6s he doesn't even have so often here, it seems like, and 10s, if just this is not folding enough, it's already a check back. So I really like the check back. And ace king, we see with the ace of clubs is always folding, so we didn't even include this one. I think this is a very like if he comes in this line with this hand, I think it's a very natural check raise all in. Okay, so very interesting hand. I like my check back. You need to be careful that you don't note lock in a way that your play becomes good. So be aware of this. But I don't think I did this in this hand. So yeah, thank you for watching, and let me know if you like this kind of format. Then I will do it more often. This kind of like me reviewing my footage, because then I have more time to explain really in depth the spots and don't need to rush everything. So just let me know, and thank you for watching, like I said, and see you to the next one. Bye bye.